The sun was already angry that morning. Not the gentle 7 a.m. sun. This was the 11:30 a.m. Lagos sun. The kind that presses on your skull like it wants answers. The kind that makes damnful conductors aggressive and makes you regret every decision that led you outside. Tunde stood by the roadside in Surulere, shifting from one foot to the other, backpack slung loosely over one shoulder. He had just finished a job interview at a small tech startup. It wasn't a big company, but it was something that could finally help him move out of his uncle's place and stop feeling like a burden. His phone vibrated in his pocket. No network. He sighed and looked around, calculating whether to take a KK or wait for a bus. As he stood there, a shadow fell across him. Not a normal shadow. It was long, too long. He looked up. The man standing in front of him looked like he had been standing there forever. His clothes were torn, but not in the usual streetwear way. They looked deliberately shredded, long slashes, uneven edges, dirt ground deep into the fabric like it had been there for years. His slippers were mismatched, one rubber, one leather. His hair was thick, matted and dusty, clinging to his head like it had grown into the dirt itself. But what caught Tunde was not his clothes. It was his eyes. They were too calm. Not the tired eyes of someone struggling, not the desperate eyes of someone hungry. They were alert, watching, studying. "Oga," the man said, voice low and slow. "Abeg, help me with something small." Tunde hesitated. He wasn't rich, he wasn't even stable. He had barely 2,000 naira in his wallet, money meant for transport and maybe a small meal later. But something about the man's voice made it hard to ignore him. Not loud, not begging aggressively, just steady. Tunde reached into his wallet and pulled out 200 naira. The man didn't move. He just stared at the money. "Oga," he said again, "not that one." Tunde frowned. "That's what I have, sir." The man tilted his head slightly, studying Tunde's face, then said, "God bless you." But his voice sounded like a statement, not a prayer. He stretched out his hand. When their fingers brushed, Tunde felt something cold, not like skin, but like metal that had been sitting in shade. He pulled his hand back quickly, uneasy. The man folded the money slowly, slipped it into his pocket and stepped aside. But he didn't walk away. He just stood there, watching Tunde. Tunde shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, I've given you something." "Yes," he said, "you have." There was something about the way he said it, like he meant more than money. A bus pulled up, conductor shouting, "Obalinde, CMS, Yaba, enter with your change." Tunde didn't wait. He climbed in quickly, found a seat near the window and exhaled. As the bus moved, he glanced back. The man was still standing there. Not walking, not begging anyone, just watching the bus, staring directly at Tunde. That night, Tunde returned late. His uncle's flat was quiet except for the sound of the television from the living room, one of those Nollywood movies where the mother-in-law is always plotting. He dropped his bag, went into the bathroom and washed his face. The cold water felt good against his skin. As he lifted his head to look in the mirror, he froze. There was a smudge on the glass. Not dirt, not steam, a handprint. Not his, smaller, thinner, longer fingers. He wiped it away with his towel and laughed nervously. "Guy, you are tired," he muttered to himself. He went to bed shortly after that, phone in hand, scrolling mindlessly through Twitter. He barely noticed when sleep came. Until he dreamed. In the dream, he was standing at the bus stop again. Same sun, same heat, same noise, but the road was empty. No buses, no cars, no people. Just him. Then he heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, scraping. He turned. The beggar stood behind him. Closer this time. His clothes were cleaner in the dream, but his eyes were darker, deeper, like pits. "You gave me something," the man said. "I gave you money," Tunde replied. In the dream, the man smiled. "No," he said. "You gave me access." Tunde tried to move, but his feet were heavy, like they were sinking into hot tar. The man stepped closer. "You opened your hand," he said. "You opened your life." Tunde woke up with a sharp gasp. Sweat soaked his shirt. His heart hammered in his chest like he had just sprinted a mile. He checked his phone. 3:11 a.m. He sat up and listened. The house was silent. No footsteps, no voices, just the hum of the ceiling fan. He lay back down, forcing his eyes shut. "It's just stress," he whispered. But deep down, something in him knew that dream didn't feel like imagination. It felt like a message. The next day started normally. Too normally. Tunde brushed his teeth, dressed and left for the day. He stopped by a roadside vendor to buy bread and egg. "Oga, your change," the woman said, handing him 100 naira. As their fingers touched, he felt that same cold sensation again. He jerked his hand back, heart jumping. "Is everything okay?" The woman frowned. "Sorry," he said, "I just shock." He walked away unsettled. He tried to shake it off. He met his friend Sola later that afternoon at a viewing center. They watched the match, shouted, laughed, argued over penalties. For a moment, Tunde forgot everything. Then during halftime, Sola leaned closer. "Guy, who is that man standing behind you?" Tunde turned. No one was there. "Which man?" he asked. "The one that was just there, tall, ragged. He was staring at you." Tunde's stomach dropped. "I didn't see anyone," he said slowly. Sola shrugged. "Maybe my eyes did deceive me." But later that evening, as Tunde went home, he heard footsteps behind him. Slow, measured. He stopped. The footsteps stopped. He turned. No one. He walked again. Footsteps followed. His heart started racing. He broke into a jog. The footsteps matched his pace. He stopped suddenly and turned. The street was empty. Only the glow of street lights and parked cars. "Who is there?" he called out. No answer. But as he turned back around, something was written on the wall in charcoal. Not graffiti, not art, just 3 words. "Thank you for opening." Tunde felt his throat tighten. He stepped back slowly. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the man's face. Not threatening, not angry, just waiting. By the 3rd day, things escalated. Tunde woke up with scratches on his arm. Not deep, not bleeding, but clearly new. 3 lines, parallel, like fingernails. He stared at them for a long time. "I don't scratch in my sleep," he whispered. He covered them with his sleeve and left the house. On the bus, he felt someone sit beside him. He turned. No one. But the seat cushions sank slightly, like weight was there. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He opened the message. "You gave. I came." His fingers trembled. He replied, "Who is this?" No response. Later that day, he found something in his bag. A folded 200 naira note. The same type he had given the beggar, but this one was old, dirty, and smelled of dust and rot. His stomach churned. He threw it away immediately. That night, he heard someone knocking. Not loud, not urgent, slow, deliberate. Knock, pause, knock, pause. Tunde sat up in bed, heart pounding. "Who is it?" he called. No answer. The knocking continued. He got up, grabbed a broomstick for protection, and walked to the door. He looked through the peephole. No one. But as he stepped back, the knocking stopped. He exhaled shakily and returned to bed. The moment he lay down, he felt a weight beside him. Not heavy, but present. He froze. His room smelled different, like dust and old rain. He didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then a voice whispered close to his ear, "You are very hospitable." Tunde screamed. He jumped up, switched on the light. The room was empty, but on his pillow, beside where his head had been, lay the 200 naira note again. By morning, Tunde was no longer just afraid. He was desperate. He went to meet Sola and told him everything. The beggar, the dreams, the messages, the scratches, the knocking, the money. Sola stared at him in silence. Then he said quietly, "Bro, this no be normal." Tunde nodded. "I know." Sola hesitated, then said quietly, "There's this woman in my area. People say she sees things. Not fake prophet, not pastor. Just somebody that understands these things." Tunde didn't care anymore. He just wanted peace. "Take me there," he said.
The woman lived in a compound at the edge of the neighborhood. Not hidden, not flashy. Just a normal place, with clothes hanging on lines and children running around barefoot. Her name was Mama Sadia. She was old, but not weak. Her eyes were sharp and her posture was straight. Her hair was wrapped in a faded scarf and her hands were steady. She didn't smile when Tunde walked in. She didn't ask his name. She just looked at him and said, "You gave something you shouldn't have." Tunde's throat tightened. "I only gave money." Mama Sadia shook her head slowly. "Not everything that asks is human. Not everything that looks poor is harmless." Sola shifted uncomfortably. "Auntie, he didn't know." "I know. That is why it worked." Tunde swallowed. "What do you mean?" She said, "You didn't give him money. You gave him permission." "Permission for what?" Tunde asked. "For him to enter. Some spirits cannot cross into your life unless you invite them. Some do it through fear, some through greed, some through curiosity. Yours used kindness." Tunde's heart pounded. "Why me?" he whispered. Mama Sadia studied his face. "Because your heart is open, and because you are tired, and because you are trying to survive." Tunde looked away. That hit too close. "So what is he?" Tunde asked. "He is not a man," she said. "He wears a man." Tunde felt his skin crawl. "Why is he tormenting me?" "Because he wants to stay, and you are resisting." Tunde's chest tightened. "How do I make him leave?" Mama Sadia sighed. "First, you must understand what he is." She stood up and walked into the inner room. When she returned, she held a small bowl filled with water and something that smelled like burnt herbs. She placed the bowl on the table and motioned for Tunde to sit. "Look," she said. Tunde leaned forward. At first, the water looked normal. Then it began to ripple. Not from movement, from within. Then a reflection appeared. Not Tunde's, not Mama Sadia's. It was the beggar, standing at the bus stop, staring. But this time his mouth was open. Not smiling, not speaking, just open, like a hole. The reflection shifted. Now he was standing in Tunde's room, then on his bed, then behind him. Tunde jumped back. Mama Sadia quickly covered the bowl. "He is attached to you," she said. "Attached how?" Tunde asked. "He feeds on attention, on fear, on disturbance, on disruption," she replied. "And you are giving him all four." Tunde lowered his head. "So I did this to myself," he whispered. "No," she said gently. "You were targeted. There's a difference." Sola cleared his throat. "Auntie, can he harm him?" Mama Sadia looked serious. "Yes." "How?" Tunde asked. "He can weaken your mind, then your body, then your life. He can cause accidents, confusion, isolation, sleep paralysis, mental breakdown." Tunde's hands trembled. "Can he kill me?" he asked. Mama Sadia paused. "If he stays long enough," she said. "Yes." Silence filled the room. "Then help me," Tunde said. "Please." Mama Sadia nodded slowly. "I will, but you must listen carefully." She explained that the beggar was not random. He was what she called a traveler spirit, something that moved through people, places, and lives, attaching itself to open doors. "Not every beggar is this," she said, "but some use begging as cover." "Cover for what?" Tunde asked. "For survival. Not survival of hunger, survival of existence."
She gave Tunde instructions. 3 rules. Do not speak to him again. Do not acknowledge his presence even if you see him. Do not accept anything from him, physically or spiritually. Then she gave him a small leather pouch. "Keep this on you," she said. "Do not open it. Do not lose it." "What's inside?" Tunde asked. "Protection and a reminder." She also gave him something to do at midnight that night. A prayer, specific words spoken out loud standing at his doorway. "Not magic," she said, "authority." Tunde nodded, heart racing. He left with Sola. On the way home, Tunde felt watched. Not behind him, Not beside him, inside him. That evening, the disturbances intensified. His phone rang. Unknown number. He didn't answer. It rang again, and again, and again. Then his phone began vibrating non-stop, not from calls, but from notifications. Messages. Hundreds of them. All from unknown numbers. All saying the same thing. Why are you ignoring me? He turned off his phone. The lights flickered, the fan slowed, then stopped. The room grew heavy. Not hot, but thick, like the air had weight. Then he heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, dragging. He stayed on his bed, clutching the leather pouch. Do not acknowledge, he whispered to himself. The footsteps stopped outside his door. The door handle moved. Slowly. It didn't open, but it moved. Like someone testing it. Go away, Tunde whispered. Then a voice spoke through the door. Not loud, not angry. Soft, calm. Why are you running from me? Tunde squeezed his eyes shut. You opened the door, the voice continued. I only entered. I didn't invite you, Tunde said, voice shaking. You gave me your hand. You gave me your attention. You gave me your kindness. I give you money, Tunde said. You gave me access, the voice corrected. Tunde's breathing quickened. Please leave me alone, he whispered. Silence. Then, you cannot undo what has been done. The footsteps moved away. Tunde stayed frozen for a long time. When he finally opened his eyes, his room was normal again. But something had changed. He could feel it. Like someone had rearranged his space, not physically, but spiritually.
At midnight, he stood at his doorway as instructed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. He took a deep breath and began to speak the words Mama Sadia had given him. Not shouting, not whispering, just steady. As he spoke, the temperature in the room dropped. The lights flickered. The air felt dense again. Then he heard laughter. Not loud, not mocking, just amused. You think words can send me away, the voice said. Tunde's heart pounded. He continued. The voice moved closer. You think you can take back what you gave. He continued. I am not your enemy, the voice said. I am your consequence. Tunde finished the words. The room went silent, dead silent. No hum of the fan, no distant traffic, no sound at all. Then the silence broke with a scream. Not human, not animal, something in between, sharp, long, painful. The sound came from inside the room, but not from any direction. It felt like it came from the walls, from the floor, from the air. Tunde fell to his knees, covering his ears. Then suddenly, nothing. No scream, no presence, no heaviness. Just normal. He sat there shaking. After a few minutes, he stood up slowly and looked around. Nothing was out of place. No scratches, no shadows, no strange smells. He walked back to his bed and sat down. His phone buzzed. He picked it up hesitantly. One message from an unknown number. This is not over. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No footsteps, no knocks, no messages, no dreams. Tunde started to relax. Maybe it worked. Maybe it was gone. Maybe Mama Sadia was right. But then, something strange happened. People around him began to act differently. His uncle became unusually aggressive, shouting over small things, accusing Tunde of stealing, complaining constantly. His friends stopped replying his messages. When he called, their phones rang but went unanswered.
When he went out, people avoided eye contact. At work, his supervisor began to criticize him for things he hadn't done. "You're not focused," the man said. "You're not serious. You're not reliable." Tunde was confused. He hadn't changed, but the world around him had. Then he noticed something else. Wherever he went, he saw beggars. Not more than usual, but closer. Closer than before. Standing too near, watching him too long, and sometimes, just sometimes, one of them would smile. Not a friendly smile, a knowing one. One evening, as he walked home, he saw the beggar again. The same one. Same clothes, same eyes. Standing at the corner of his street, waiting. Tunde froze. His heart pounded. He remembered Mama Sadia's instructions, do not acknowledge. He looked straight ahead and kept walking. The beggar did not move. He walked past him, not looking, not speaking, not breathing properly. He felt the beggar's presence like heat, like gravity, like pressure. As he passed, the beggar whispered, "You cannot walk past what is inside you." Tunde kept walking. He didn't turn, he didn't respond, he didn't stop. But his hands were shaking. That night, his dreams returned, but they were different. He was no longer at the bus stop. He was in his house. But it wasn't his house. It was empty. No furniture, no walls, just endless space. Then the beggar appeared. Not in front of him, inside him. He looked down at his own hands. They were not his. They were dirty, cracked, scarred. He lifted his head and saw his reflection. It was the beggar's face, smiling. "You are becoming more like me," the voice said. Tunde woke up screaming. Tunde couldn't ignore it anymore. This was no longer just fear. It was infiltration. He felt different, not physically, mentally, emotionally. He started snapping at people, getting irritated easily, feeling disconnected from himself. Sometimes he caught himself staring into space for long minutes, unaware of time passing. Once, his uncle called his name 3 times before he responded. "Bye, are you okay?" the man asked. "Yes," Tunde replied. But he wasn't. He felt diluted, like something else was mixing with him. He returned to Mama Sadia. This time, she didn't wait for him to speak. "You have not fully separated," she said. "What does that mean?" Tunde asked. "He is no longer just outside, he is inside." Tunde's stomach dropped. "Inside me, how?" "He has not taken over," she said, "but he has left a mark, a thread, a root." Tunde's voice trembled. "Can it be removed?" "Yes," she said, "but it will not be easy." "Why?" he asked. "Because he will fight to stay." Tunde clenched his fists. "I don't care. I just want him gone." Mama Sadia nodded. "Then you must confront him." Tunde's eyes widened. "I thought I wasn't supposed to acknowledge him." "You were not supposed to acknowledge him while he was outside. Now he is inside. You must face him." "How?" Tunde asked. "Not physically," she said, "spiritually." She explained that there would be a ritual. Not magic, not superstition, but a confrontation of authority. Not a fight, she said, a separation. She told him to fast for a day. No food, no distractions, no phone, no noise. Then, at midnight, he would return to the bus stop, the exact place where he had given the beggar money. That is where the door was opened, she said. That is where it must be closed. Tunde felt his chest tighten. "Alone?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "What if something happens to me?" he asked. "Something is already happening to you. This is how it stops." She gave him another pouch, this one heavier. "Do not open it," she said. "Hold it when you are there." What if I see him? Tunde asked. You will, she said. What if I'm afraid? He asked. You will be, but you must not let fear speak. Tunde swallowed. That day he fasted. No food, no phone, no music. Just silence, just prayer, just waiting. As the sun set, his nerves tightened. As night fell, his heart raced. At 11:45 p.m., he left the house. The streets were quiet. Not empty, Lagos is never empty, but quieter than usual. He walked to the bus stop. Each step felt heavier than the last. As he approached, the street lights flickered. The air felt thick again. He reached the spot, the exact place. He stood there, holding the pouch tightly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the temperature dropped. Then he heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, scraping. He didn't turn. You came back, the voice said behind him. Tunde closed his eyes. I didn't come back for you, I came back for myself. The footsteps moved closer. You cannot separate from what you accepted. You invited me. I didn't invite you. I was kind. Kindness without wisdom is a door.
Tunde opened his eyes and turned. The beggar stood there, but he didn't look like a beggar anymore. His clothes were gone. His form was distorted. Not monstrous, not dramatic, just wrong. His limbs were too long. His joints bent in places they shouldn't. His face was familiar, but not human. You see me now, he said. This is what you welcomed. Tunde's heart pounded. He held up the pouch. I reject you, he said. I withdraw permission. I close the door. The beggar smiled. You think words can undo actions? I know they can, because words open doors too. The beggar stepped closer. You cannot remove what is inside you, he said. I have already mixed with you. I am not yours, Tunde replied. I never was. The beggar's smile faded. You are afraid, he said. Yes, Tunde replied, but fear doesn't mean surrender. The beggar's face shifted. For the first time, he looked angry. You will regret this, he said. I already have. That's why I'm here. The air thickened. The street lights flickered violently. The world around them felt like it was bending. Say the words, a voice whispered in Tunde's mind. He didn't know if it was Mama Sadia's voice or his own conscience or something else. But he said the words. Not shouting, not whispering. Steady, strong, clear. I revoke what I gave. I sever what was opened. I reclaim what is mine. The beggar screamed. Not in pain, in rage. You cannot take back what you don't understand, he shouted. I don't need to understand. I just need to choose. The beggar lunged forward, not physically, but spiritually. Tunde felt pressure in his chest, like something was trying to rip out of him. He dropped to one knee. His vision blurred. His ears rang. Then he felt something tear. Not flesh, not bone, something deeper, like a thread snapping inside him. The beggar screamed again. This time, the scream wasn't rage, it was loss. The air shifted, the heaviness lifted, the pressure released. Tunde gasped for breath. When he looked up, the beggar was gone. Not faded, not walked away, gone. The street was normal again. Cars passed, a bus stopped, a conductor shouted. Life continued. Tunde stood slowly. He looked at the pouch in his hand. It felt lighter, almost empty. He turned and walked home. The days that followed were peaceful. Not dramatic, not magical, just normal. His uncle stopped being aggressive. His friends replied his messages. His supervisor apologized for being harsh. The strange dreams stopped. The scratches didn't return. The knocks didn't come back. The presence was gone. But something had changed in Tunde. He was no longer naive, not cold, not cruel, just aware. He still gave to people.
He still helped when he could, but he no longer gave blindly. He no longer opened himself without discernment. One evening, as he stood at a different bus stop, a beggar approached him. Normal clothes, normal voice, normal eyes. "Oga, abeg, help me with something small," the man said. Tunde studied him. Not suspicious, not judgmental, just observant. He gave him money, but this time he didn't feel cold. He didn't feel pressure. He didn't feel watched. The man said, "God bless you," and walked away. Tunde exhaled. Not all beggars are bad, but not all are genuine. Kindness must walk with wisdom. Compassion must walk with discernment. Because not everything that looks needy is harmless. And not every open hand deserves your door.